Hey, everybody, and welcome to Locked On Brewers. Some managers are afraid to make the move that Craig Counsell did in the eighth inning. They run scared, and they're afraid to bring their closer in the eighth inning. Counsell made the right decision, and it worked out, and the Brewers go on and win a huge game in St. Louis 3-2. We'll talk about that decision. Wade Miley left this game early because of an injury. We'll update that and tell you about a few other things with the Milwaukee Brewers. All that next, coming up on Locked On Brewers, here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I could not be more fired up than I was when the Brewers got the final out in Tuesday's 3-2 win over the St. Louis Cardinals. They hung on. Counsell made a great decision in the eighth inning. The bullpen was fantastic in relief of Wade Miley. And my gosh, the Brewers nearly had disaster happen in the bottom of the ninth inning, but they avoided it and get the job done. Now, even up that series in St. Louis, I had a game apiece. I'll tell you about Counsell's move coming up here in a little bit, Miley injury, and a few other things as well here on Locked On Brewers. Great to join you here on a late Tuesday night, early Monday, or early Wednesday morning. Appreciate you joining us, whether you're watching us in the video on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that little bell there. That's going to alert you every time we drop an episode. And also, we're on everywhere where you can download a podcast. Google, Spotify, Apple, some of the major ones out there. We drop the episode a couple of hours after game time, and love it because there's a lot of you everydayers out there who follow us and listen to the podcast, watch us on YouTube every day, and I appreciate that. And follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, Freimund. I love hearing what you have to say during the game, after the game, before the game, any Brewer news. Love chatting with the great fans of the Milwaukee Brewers, because not only am I a media member, but I'm also a fan of the team, lived here all my life, and they are my favorite professional sports team in Wisconsin. Again, I work for AP Radio, been there for over 40 years, morning sports anchor at 1310 WIBA. All right, I could not wait to get to the microphone tonight. Get to the microphone and the television camera, because the Brewers, wow, what a victory that was. Now, that could have been just a brutal loss, but let's not go there just yet. We'll talk about the decision that Craig Counsell made in the eighth inning. Sometimes, and Counsell's been a victim of this as well, managers in the eighth inning will not bring in their closer. They refuse to. They bring in some mediocre, average reliever, and again, just hoping and praying that he's going to get them out of a jam, and oftentimes enough, it fails. It fails. Now, there were guys at first and third. Peter Strzelecki was on for a second inning of relief. Runners at first and third, one out. Counsell had Devin Williams warming up in the bullpen, and he had Trevor McGill, who they picked up off the DFA wire because he was released by Minnesota. Now, the dumb decision, the absolutely stupid decision, and the one that you're just throwing away is to bring McGill into this game. First and third, throwing him into that situation tells me you're not trying to win the game against your arch rivals. Okay? That tells me you're not trying to win the game. But they brought in Williams, knowing if the Brewers are going to cross the finish line, Williams is going to have to give them 5 outs. And boy, did he ever. Man, was he great. Got a strikeout and a ground out, and that was it. Runner Edmund Stroll's second base, runners at second and third, and he got 2 outs to finish off the inning. Wow, what a job by Devin Williams. But I know he could do it. I mean, Devin Williams is great. We've talked here in the podcast that Williams has not been used a heck of a lot in high leverage situations, but when he has, he's been great. And there was a stretch there where he had not been used in a week because the Brewers had not been used in a spot they needed him. That was the road trip out in Colorado and San Francisco. And then he pitched on Saturday, I want to say, Williams got the win in the extra inning game against the Royals. Yeah, that was it. On the Wiemer sacrifice fly. That was the game he pitched. And so he didn't pitch on Monday. Obviously, it was an 18-1 game. And then he comes back and he gets the five outs. Now, again, you could have gone to Trevor McGill, but let's face it. If you sat down next to Craig Counsell at a bar, okay, you were at a bar and you said, Craig, come on, be honest. Did you have a lot of faith in Trevor McGill coming into that game and trying to save you a ball game in the 8th inning? Ain't no manager who's on the major league level or any level going to say, oh, God, I knew he was going to do it. Oh, I had total faith. No, you're not, because managers don't want to bring their closer in the 8th inning. But Counsell did. Realized this was a big game against St. Louis. The Cardinals have been charging. And I know it's only mid-May, but again, I think the further you keep those guys down, the better. And they sure kept the Cardinals at bay with that decision, 3-2. And the Cardinals caused some drama for the Brewers in the 9th inning. Joey Wiemer misjudged what should have been a routine fly ball with 2 outs. It knuckled by him, went to the wall. So there's a runner at second base, 2 outs. Counsell again makes the right decision. He throws a couple of bad pitches to Nolan Arenado, who's homered in the last 5 games. And logic says, walk Arenado. And he did. He walked Arenado, runners at first and second, and 2 outs. They would get the weak ground ball to third to finish off the game. Yeah. You don't want Arenado to beat you. You pitched to Paul DeJong, and DeJong, the ground out, ended the inning. And you know what? Counsell made 2 great decisions. 2. Not only bringing in Devin Williams, which I think is a logical decision in the 8th inning, but often not made. But in the 9th, walking Arenado. Because if Arenado blasts a home run there for the game-winning shot, I'm breaking every bobblehead in my house. You know how I break bobbleheads in situations. I had them lined up tonight because it looked like it was going that way. I mean, it could have gone in that direction. But if you walk Arenado and Paul DeJong beats you, you tip your hat. He gaps one, and Arenado scores from first to the winning run. You tip your hat, and he beats you. That's fine. But, God, it was a great move by Counsell. I'm telling you, I want to see more closer situations of a guy coming in the 8th inning, then having to depend on a player like, nothing against Trevor McGill, but you're not Devin Williams. You're not my all-star closer who I know I could trust, who's going to go out there having a great year, and I'm going to trust that he's going to get me the outs, and he did. He got 5 of them, his first 5-out save of his career. Hats off to Devin Williams. It was an old-school save. You know I'm old school, and I love what I saw. So we're going to recap this one a little further here. We're going to talk about the status of Wade Miley. I want to get to that. Run down a few things in this game as well. Yelich did sit out. We'll talk about that. Get to your text. Go through the box score and a few other things as well as we move on here on Locked On Brewers. The show is brought to you in part by Sorare, one of our new sponsors. Sorare, a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their own fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, competing with other player cards against global opponents to win epic awards. Now, the more you win, the more you advance. Sorare MLB game weeks happen twice weekly, a span of a 3 or 4 day cycle. And at the end of the game week, Sorare MLB managers have a chance to win game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, stuff like that. All good. So head to Sorare.com. Locked On, that's Sorare, SORARE.com/locked-on, and you get your free to draft your free player cards, set your lineup, start competing today, win epic awards, those awards I was telling you about. Again, that's Sorare.com/locked-on to start playing today. Sorare. So good of a game. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. We're coming right back and getting to these details of the game and with Christian Yelich. All that is coming up next. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Brewers play again in St. Louis coming up Wednesday night, 6:45 with that first pitch at Busch Stadium. Catch every pitch of the Brewers' hometown broadcast, Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search Brewers. Thank you very much, all you everydayers out there on Locked On Brewers, on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. YouTube, also your favorite podcast platforms. We are there for you every day. All right, quick recap of the game in case you all missed it. Brewers got the go-ahead home run in the sixth inning. Brian Anderson hit his sixth home run of the year, and that made it 3-2, and that stood up for the victory. Willie Adames with an RBI single early in this game in the first. Joey Wiemer homered in the fifth to tie it up after the Brewers had trailed 2-1, and the home run by Anderson was the difference, 3-2 Brewers. Now, this bullpen. Yeah, not only was it Devin Williams closing out this game, but hats off to this bullpen of the Brewers that competed and went 7 1/3 innings of 9K, 1 earned run, 6-hit baseball. The tag team of Elvis Peguero, Hobie Milner, Payamps, Strzelecki, and Williams got 22 outs, 6 hits, 9 strikeouts from those 6 pitchers. Now, they had to, because Wade Miley left this game early with a lat injury. Miley pitched an inning and 2/3, gave up a hit and a run. He had to come up with a lat injury and had to leave this game. We'll give you the details, the updated status on Wade Miley coming up here in a little bit. But when he went down, you're thinking, oh my God, how are the Brewers going to piece this together? But their bullpen certainly got the job done, and the Brewers were able to cross the finish line with Peguero, Milner, Payamps, Strzelecki, and Williams. 22 outs, 7 1/3, 1 earned run, 9 Ks. Now, the bullpen is going to be taxed for tomorrow, for Wednesday's game, but Corbin Burnes is pitching, and plus it'd be great if they had a little help. He had a little help from the offense tomorrow. But Brewers get the win. God, that was a great victory. Best one of the season, in my opinion. I mean, you lost 18-1 on Monday night, but you came roaring back and you won a tight game 3-2. Now you've scored just 4 runs in 2 games in St. Louis, if I'm going to throw some water on this. So got to be able to produce and get some runs so Corbin doesn't have to give you 9 tomorrow. But 6 or 7 solid. Shouldn't have to put all the pressure on the pitching staff like we always do with the Milwaukee Brewers. Shouldn't have to. Let's get a little offense going. Wade Miley, but we'll give you a little update on Wade Miley coming up here in a couple of minutes. Christian Yelich, back tightness, left the game in the 7th inning the night before. Counsell said, well, it was because of back tightness. They took him out. Thought maybe it was because of the blowout. No, they took him out because of back tightness, and he did not play. You just hope, because Yelich was getting on a little bit of a roll. He was launching balls again. He had the 3 homers in 2 days in the Saturday and Sunday against Kansas City. You just hope that the back tightness is not going to shelf him too long, because it just looked like he was becoming the old Christian Yelich. And I know we've said that before. We've been down that road, but anytime you see some success with him or any other player, you hate to see injuries in general, but you hate to see when it looked like he was getting on track to have this come up, back tightness, and something that's bothered him before, the back. We've known that we've gone through that with Yelich before, the back injury. So speedy returns Christian Yelich to this lineup. Gus Varland, Brewers released him. Craig Counsell said he liked him, but apparently didn't like him enough. You know, one of those situations where you meet a girl, you might date her, but you don't like her enough that you want to date her on a consistent basis. Okay. And I think that was Counsell's feeling with Gus Varland, the Rule 5 pick, that he liked him, that Varland had a couple of things in there that he liked, but not enough that he wanted to keep him on the roster for the entire season. Not enough where he wanted to keep him around as a long-term relationship. So Varland is no longer on this team. And as a Rule 5 pick, you got to stay on the team the rest of the year. Otherwise, you got to be offered back to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So that's what happens with Gus Varland. He had a bad performance on Monday night, but I don't think it was just Monday night. The Brewers absolutely saw something where he gave up the 9 runs in the Monday night. They saw something. There was something there they didn't like, or enough to make a commitment or feel comfortable with Gus Varland. And this is a team that needs some pitching help. This is a team that's dying for bullpen help. And they just said, okay, well, I was a little surprised because I didn't think they would release him, but they did. So that was I don't know if it's a gutsy move, because if you don't like somebody on your roster, there's no commitment to keeping him around. I mean, if you don't think that that's the guy you want to stick with, if you don't want to dance with him for 162 games, yeah, don't look at him. Get rid of him. It's the way the business is. And so, yeah, if you don't think Varland's the right guy, don't let him take up a roster spot on this team. Don't let him take up a spot in the bullpen. So I was okay with that. See if anybody were active on Twitter tonight. I put a couple of things out there. Didn't have the chance to proofread anything. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, win or lose. I said that Counsell going to Devin Williams in the 8th inning instead of going to Trevor McGill. Going to Trevor McGill is not trying to win the game. Alex says the number 1 trade deadline target should be bullpen arms. Really need some more reliable options out there. Alex, I said this the other day. Nothing against Peter Strzelecki. Nothing against Peter Strzelecki, but the Brewers need an 8th inning guy, and maybe move Strez to the 7th. They nearly had to have Strez get 9 outs tonight, or Strez and Devin Williams get 9 outs combined, okay, because of being thin out there with Miley making the short start. They were asking Strez to get 2 innings, cover the 7th and the 8th. Now, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but then finding the 7th, 8th ran into trouble, and then Williams bailed them out there. But the Brewers do need, I'd love to see them get another 8th inning guy and then move Strzelecki to the 7th inning. If this guy's not better than Strzelecki, then you put him in the 7th inning. But there's other guys in this bullpen who I think are candidates, but I'm not quite there yet. Piamps, with each time he takes them on, I'm feeling better and better with him. Now, am I ready for him to pitch in the postseason? Now we're a long ways away from that. He's pitched in a few critical spots this year. Peguera, I like what he brings to the table too. But am I going to make a commitment to him just yet? No, not at all. All right, we'll talk about Wade Miley and look ahead to Wednesday's game, the Brewers and Cardinals, coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. I want to tell you about a new great sponsor, and I've had a chance to try their pants and shorts out. Birddog. Birddog, you've seen them around. You've seen celebrities wear these. Birddog, they're stretchy pants, shorts, and pants. I wore some on the golf course today. And when you're golfing, you like pants that are going to have a little movement to them. And if you're getting in your 40s or 50s, you've went a couple of times too many through the drive-through and didn't work out enough in the off season, you might need some of those stretchy pants like yours truly. And these pants and shorts, I've tried the pants on tonight, played 9 holes with them before the Brewer game tonight, and they're fantastic golf pants. Birddog is what it's called. Birddog. I had not heard of this brand until recently, but I'm telling you, we got to get the word out on them. They gave me the freedom to wear the pants to the golf course, but you can meet them like if you're going out for a dinner, you're going out to meet friends, you got a meeting, casual. You can wear them for business attire. They're all good. Go to birddogs.com, Locked On MLB, and when you enter the promo code Locked On MLB, they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. So again, you want to try out some of these pants, the shorts, stretchy, lots of movement in it, my kind of pants and shorts. Go to birddogs.com /Locked On MLB. And again, enter the promo code Locked On MLB. They'll throw in a free custom Birddog Yeti style tumbler with every order. That's Birddog. That sounds great, man. Again, I wore my pants out for 9 holes today, and it worked out great for me. And I'm looking forward to trying the shorts on the next warm day we have here in Wisconsin. Chuck Freeman, we're coming right back, and we'll tell you about the status of Wade Miley and look ahead to Wednesday's starters. That's next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thanks, everydayers out there. Those of you who download us every day, follow us on YouTube, download us off the platforms, and follow us on Twitter as well. Chuck Freeman, Freimund. Follow me on Twitter. Love to have conversations with you throughout the day. And you know what? If I don't get back to you, I try to answer as many as possible and read them. I certainly read them all. But, it's great. Follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, on Twitter. And, of course, comments. We always like reading your comments over in YouTube. There's a comments section right there. Put your comments. I always read those all morning and night before I go to watch the game or before I go covering the game. So thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen to every day. All right. Wade Miley is coming back to Milwaukee. He's going to have his lat injury looked at. They're not wasting any time having him go on the road trip onto Tampa and then come home and do it. They brought him, they are flying him back, and they're going to have this lat injury looked at. 22 pitches on Tuesday night out of there after an inning and 2/3. They got him out of there. But this is just one more injury for the starting rotation. I mean, where does it end? The injuries have just been decimating this team. Not only at the major league level, but at the minor league level. The latest being Keston Hiura down at AAA was tearing the cover off the baseball. But now he's going through an injury that's going to take him 3 to 4 months. But I imagine with Wade Miley, if he's got to go on the injured list, and it sounds like that's going to be the case, that Colin Ray, I'm sure, who they just sent down to AAA, he'll be the first man up. But the Brewers are running out of options. They are. They're running out of options. They cannot look how many guys have been hurt in that starting rotation. Burnes, fortunately, didn't miss the start. Ashby was down before the season. Hauser didn't start the team on the season because of the injury suffered in spring training. Woody is not going to be back for a while, late June. You go right down this list. Guys being hurt. Even Varlin, another injury, even though they released him, he got hurt in San Diego on that comebacker. Garrett Mitchell in center field. The Brewers have had to weather some injuries this year, taking its toll on its depth. And they've had to make signings like Darren Ruff, hoping to patch things together for a little bit. But here they are, the Brewers 24-18, and still in first place in the National League Central. I'm going to look at, I believe it's 7.5 games in front of St. Louis. Let me just double check that real quick. Yes, 7.5 in front of the 17 and 26 Cardinals, Pittsburgh, the Cubs, and Cincinnati. Nobody cares about those teams unless we play them. But they're not competing with the Brewers and the Cardinals for the division. The Brewers will face 41-year-old Adam Wainwright on Wednesday. He's 21-14 lifetime against the Brewers, but a 2.74 earned run average. 21-14, it seems like 21-6, doesn't it? But he's 21-14 in his career against the Brewers. But that ERA, 2.74. Now, this year, he's only made 2 starts. He started the season on the injured list. Has made 2 starts. Last start, last Friday, got a no decision, 5 innings, 7 hits, a no decision, where he gave 2 home runs in the 5th inning as well, as the Cardinals won in Boston, come from behind with a home run in the 9th inning. But Wainwright got a no decision in this game. Corbin Burnes, coming off classic vintage Burnes in his last outing. 6 innings, 2 hits versus Kansas City last Friday. Of course, business picks up when you got the St. Louis Cardinals and the rubber match of this 3-game set. How big would it be to win this game and move 8.5 games? As bad as that road trip was, and losing 18-1 against the Cardinals. And as I told you, it only counts as 1 loss. All right. And the Brewers had lost 5 of 6 series before Kansas City. That you could move 8.5 games out in front of St. Louis with a win on Wednesday night. Huge 2-game swing. That's what these games against the Cardinals, mammoth. They're 2-game swings. Again, I don't care if it's mid-May. I want to win these games. Corbin pitched great in his last outing, but it'd be great if the offense could score him some runs. Hey, you know what? They're going to be short on the bullpen. I don't know if Williams is going to be available with the 5 outs that he was able to get, or Strzelecki, who pitched over an inning. We'll see. Counsell's not going to tip his hand on that, but going to need Burnes to pitch well. And let's take him out to the lead so we don't have to put all the pressure, as always, on this pitching staff. And, of course, the game on Wednesday night, 6:45 with that first pitch. The Brewers play the St. Louis Cardinals. Catch every pitch of the Brewers' hometown broadcast, SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Brewers. Counsell, thank you. 2 great decisions, again, you made in this game. Bringing Devin Williams in the 8th inning, and then in the 9th inning, walking Arenado, pitching to DeYoung, and letting him make the last out. Devin Williams and that bullpen, the MVPs of the night. My name is Chuck Freeman. Thanks for listening, everybody. And thanks for listening and watching Locked On Brewers on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We'll be back tomorrow night after the final game of that series in St. Louis. Let's keep this thing rolling, everybody.